Right, hey people. Today I'm reviewing the book I've just finished reading, like literally just finished reading, and that is Between a Rock and a Hard Place by Aron Ralston. I feel weird. I think more weird reviewing a non-fiction book in the sense of someone's actual account of their life, or a part of their life, than a work of fiction. But the biggest... it's really interesting. It's incredible how his own strength and stuff got him through, and how he survived, and how he managed to survive, and how, even though at points he clearly was hallucinating and was having problems, he still managed to keep going through and he didn't give up. I could never personally imagine ever being in that place, and I can never, I don't know, I've never been in a situation like that obviously, and I can never imagine being able to cut my own arm off, which is a big thing. Well, a couple of things I noticed reading it, because he tells you all about like past things that's happened to him, different like excursions and everything, and things that went wrong before, mistakes he's made that caused problems. And one thing I noticed in that is, probably like many people who do this, do risk-taking activities and canyoning and whatever, it's... They take risks and they're not always safe about it. And he talks about how he goes skiing somewhere. He goes skiing and he doesn't check avalanche stuff, and they end up stuck in an avalanche. And it's interesting because from what I can see, it's like there's no way you could predict or could have prevented. He could have predicted or prevented that choke stone falling and crushing his arm and trapping him there. It wasn't possible for everything you can read in it. It just was one of those things that happened. It was an accident. He couldn't have stopped it. The only way he could have stopped it was by not going there, and that would have been completely against who he was and why he was there in the first place. But the fact that he was stuck for that long was just really, it was a result of his actions. And while usually people get away with not telling people where they're going because there's no consequences for it, and he was just unlucky in a sense of he had a consequence and it was almost cost him his life. And I think the biggest thing you can learn reading this, besides the interesting story, is that you should always tell someone where you're going. Always. Going for a hike, tell someone where you're going. Like, I've done long walks by myself before when I probably shouldn't have, and it is what it is, but I've always told people where I'm going, although sometimes I didn't. But for the most part, you do, and it gets you thinking, like, what would you do? Because no one even knew where he was. They didn't realise he was missing till days later. They didn't know where he had gone, so they just had vague ideas and were stabbing basically in the dark. And that's not helpful. I really enjoyed it. It was really interesting. He talks about his life, his life in the sense of what he does and what he enjoys doing, and his passion that got him there, and how his entire experience there. The main reason I bought the book was because I wanted to know what was going through his head at the time, and I was really curious about that. And it was interesting. I don't regret buying it, but yeah, I don't know. Most of this probably been non-sequential, meant nothing, and just pretty much crap that I've been talking about. But pretty much that was my think I liked it. I found reading the parts about like his mother's distress, obviously where he's spoken to her and as to what happened, that was probably the bit that tugged a bit at my heart. I always find that like other people's distress more distressing than what actually has happened to a person, necessarily. Which I suppose is my own thing. That's annoying me. It's not my hat. So yeah, it was good. It's basically a big thing I can really say. Just reminds you to be careful. Tell people where you're going. I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, if you want to read it, if you're interested in reading people's memoirs, I definitely recommend it. I wouldn't not recommend reading it. So, you know, if you're interested in those sort of books, go for it. It's my advice. So yeah, finally read it after, how long have I had it? I've seen the film as well. I saw the film first, technically, but reading it, there's only a couple of things in the film that wasn't like it, and I think it was really good representation, because often they're not. So yeah, it's brilliant. Not the best I've read, but not the worst either. Definitely something else. Yeah. It's good, basically. I don't know what to talk about anymore. Just chatting. I think I'm going to make some coffee, so that's my review. It's not a brilliant review. I never said I was good at that. I just decided to do it. So hey. I'll speak to you all next time.